have got 5 simple things that I really feel like I want to tell you mamas, whether you're an adoptive mama, a special needs mama, or heck, a lot of this can even relate to your average typical child. I think these are very valuable and I'm very excited to share them with you, so stick around. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so glad to have you here. If you're new to our channel, welcome. So excited to have you here. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do that now. Click the notification bell so that you know when our newest vlogs are up and live, which are typically every Wednesdays. This week is a day late, but hey, it's better late than never, right? I know that you all love to see our girls and kind of see what we're doing throughout the day. So in the mix of this whole video, as I'm talking to you, I'm going to just take you and show you a few things that we're doing throughout our house today, which is really nothing exciting. We've got a few chores to do. I need to give the girls their growth hormone shots, and I've got a swab to do for Isabel for some genetic testing that I'm super excited about, and I will share further in another video, but we're just going to jump right into it. The first piece of advice comes from my friend Amber, and I really could not even agree with her anymore if I wanted to, but she shared, focus on connecting over correction. And this is so true, y'all. So when whenever I read her piece of advice, I immediately flashed back to the first day that we met Isabel. There in that hotel lobby, many of you have seen the videos before, but we quickly realized that Isabel had a severe problem with biting her hands, severely. Like they would tie her hands to the bed. While I feel like that's inhumane, I do realize that they were probably doing it for somewhat for protection for her, right? So when we met her in that hotel lobby, the tour guide and the nannies told us very quickly, like, hey, she bites her hands. You need to protect her hands. You need to protect her hands. So Stan and I go into protection mode, right? Because that's what we do with our kids. And we were trying to find ways to stop her from biting her hands and harming herself anymore. I remember we went back up into the hotel room. I was trying to put socks on her hands and just like put rubber bands to hold them together. Again, we have never been prepared for anything like this, and we didn't know that she had this terrible self-harming habit. Otherwise, maybe we would have been a little more prepared, but we weren't. And there, I think for the first day or so, we were just really trying hard to correct that behavior. It's a negative behavior. But I think by day 2, I'm thinking we quickly realized like that's a self-soothing behavior for her. That behavior comes from just a lack of neglect, being abandoned in her baby bed for all hours of the day, not getting the proper attention and nurturing and all of the things. And so for her, that was her way of self-soothing. And so we realized very quickly that like, hey, she's okay. Like she's okay. She's clearly been doing this for many years of her life because her little hands were damaged. Her lip was damaged. She's okay. We really just need to focus on connecting and bonding with her because we knew that was going to be so hard. Just because of the environment in which she lived and the state of her cognitive abilities and everything like that. Not because we didn't instantly love her immensely, but bonding and attachment was going to look very different than what it did when we met Mika. So Stan and I kind of threw that idea of correcting that behavior to the side, and we focused on connection with her. We focused on bonding with her, and I can say that relieved a lot of pressure from our shoulders, a lot of stress quite honestly, it relieves some stress in a very stressful situation. But just to kind of be like, she's okay. We just really need to connect with this baby, because if we can't form a bond and a connection, she's never going to trust us when we're trying to redirect and guide her to maybe a more positive behavior. So if we don't have that connection, correction is never going to happen, okay? Same thing with Mika when we picked her up. She had this habit of hitting people in their face just as an act of nervousness and anxiousness. And of course, in the beginning, we were like, whoa, wait, no, we don't hit in the face. But then we quickly realized, like, it's just how she's coping. It's just a whole new world to her, and that's how she processes and deals with new situation, anxiety, nervousness, whatever the case may be. And so again, yes, we would kind of redirect her from hitting and teach her over time a better behavior to do instead of hitting in the face. But first we had to form that connection with her. She needed to know that she could trust us, that we loved her, that we were going to protect her, and that we're not going to lead her in anything that's going to hurt her in any capacity, right? So again, we had to form that connection and just understand that, like, we have the rest of our lives to correct these behaviors. And let me just tell you, some of them can't always be corrected, okay? We're 5 years in with Izzy, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So connection over correction is so essential. And, a lot of these kids, when they come home, you'll see a lot of forms of regression. And it's very normal. So like for Mika, whenever she came home, she was 4.5 years old. Within a couple months or so, she reverted back to sucking her thumb like 24/7. No. So when she came home, she was about 4.5 years old, and I noticed within a few weeks of coming home, she kind of reverted back to thumb sucking like a baby would. And again, this is something that you're like, oh wait, we don't need to start this habit at 4.5 years old. But yes, she needed that. A lot of these kids need to go back and kind of fill in the gaps of what they missed throughout the years of being without a mother and a father to nurture and protect and cuddle them and hug them and all of those things that your average typical child born into your family, those are milestones that they're going to reach. And a lot of these kids, they never kind of went through those seasons. They just kind of really had to figure things out on their own, and really not a good situation. A lot of times you might want to revert back to like rocking them to sleep and just cuddling them as if you would an infant. For the longest time, Isabel could completely hold her baby bottle by herself. She did it in the orphanage, but when we brought her home, we fed her, and she got to the point where like she didn't want to hold her baby bottle, and sometimes that would be frustrating to us, but in hindsight, I realized like that little girl, she just needed to be taken care of. And as her mother, I needed to show her that she was going to be taken care of. Like all of her needs were going to be taken care of. And so just know that it's okay if they regress back. It's okay if they go back to a place where they're acting, maybe they're crawling again, or they're, like I said, thumb sucking or bottle holding or talking, babbling or something like that. It's okay for them to kind of reverse back, because honestly, doing that is going to help your connection even better, because it's a place where you can meet your child's needs and what they're wanting. So connection over correction is a great piece of advice. Number 2 is from yours truly. It is not your job to fix them. Especially with adoption, when we're thinking about bringing a child into our family through adoption, we sometimes kind of get tunnel vision on like, this is amazing for them. We're giving them a better home. We're going to get them all the medical care and therapies that they need to help them just be better. And we're going to fix these problems and we're going to fix these behaviors. And then when they get home, you realize it is not that easy. It is not that simple. And your reason for choosing adoption is not so that you can fix a child. Your reason for adoption should be so that every child has a family. Every child deserves a family. Your motive for adoption should be because it's what the Lord has, commanded his people to do, to take care of the widows, take care of the orphans, to live a life of servanthood, to live a life that is going to always point people back to Christ, and adoption is just that. So if your motive to adopt is so that you can fix a child, then you're going to be sorely disappointed. Through the journey especially with Isabel being home, Steen and I had to give that idea up a long time ago. And let me say that was probably one of the most single best things that we could have ever done, because when you're in this mindset of I've got to fix them, I've got to correct this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, that is so much pressure on yourself. You are setting such high expectations, not only of yourself, but of your child. And when those expectations are not met, you are squashed. Your spirit is squashed. And you're just like, am I doing enough? And so really just letting go of this idea of I need to fix them and make them the best version that I feel like they should be, and change that with, Lord, I'm here to meet her needs. I'm here to help nurture her, protect her, keep her safe. And Lord, you're going to have to guide and lead me in this. Really takes a lot of pressure off of yourself and off of that child. And you just have to meet them where they are at. Look, Isabel has been home 5 years and she still cares nothing for food. She likes some ice cream every once in a while. She'll like some yogurt every once in a while, but we are still strictly bottle fed only. And that can become frustrating because I'm like 5 years in, come on sister, we can do this. I've realized it's okay. It's okay if she's still bottle fed. She's getting proper nourishment. She knows her needs are met. She knows when she starts whimpering and I say, hold on, Izzy, mommy's fixing you a bottle. She immediately stops whining and she just patiently waits because she knows her needs are going to be met, which again goes back to what we were just talking about that connection and that trust, that trust in their relationship that they have with you. So, as frustrating as it can be that you know that some of these things could be corrected, but they're just not being corrected fast enough for you, you have to let that go. And I promise it's going to make your parenting journey a lot easier. Number 3 is from my friend Crystal, and I thought this was great advice. She said, seek community with others who are walking the road of adoptive families is so pivotal, especially as your child grows. It doesn't matter what season of life you are in, whether you are in your 70s or your 20s or you're a teenager, whatever it is, we all need community. We all need a support system. And let me tell you, when you're talking about special needs and adoptive parents, that rings true hardcore. You have got to have a circle of people who know what you're going through, not just who can sympathize with what you're going through and who can offer you empathy for what you're going through, but to really get it. They're like, I get where you're at and I'm so sorry. Here's what I did to help me. Or have you tried this or whatever. So having a community of people that support you and that truly know what it takes to parent through these really challenging seasons, and these seasons can be lifelong, to be honest with you, especially when you're talking about parenting a special needs child, it can be a lifelong, hard season. Very rewarding, but it can be hard. And let me also say that it is okay if your circle is small, okay? You do not have to have 10, 15 friends that you call on whenever you need something. If you just have a small circle of a few friends that you know you can count on, that will be there for you, to listen to you, for you to cry on their shoulder, or for you to say, hey, I really need help watching my other kids while we go to this important medical appointment, and they're going to come help you. A small circle of people. You don't need, You don't need this huge group. You don't need just tons of people around you, but you do need supportive people to help you fill in the gaps when needed. It is so, so important. And I can tell you there's a huge difference when I'm talking to another special needs adoptive mama about Isabel's challenges and what she's going through, as opposed to someone who has never walked that road. There's just this instant connection. There's this instant, you almost let your guard down because you can be really real and raw with your emotions and feelings as you're walking the parenting journey with some of these kids. If you're parenting your average typical teenagers, teenagerhood can be hard, y'all. They can be very challenging, and so you need a community of people who are kind of going through that season with you, who you can lean on and count on and just vent to. So yeah, you find you a circle of people. It doesn't have to be a big circle, but you need a community of people who are going to support you. Number 4, and I feel like this could be advice given to any parent at all, whether you're an adoptive parent, special needs parent, or just parenting your average typical kids. My friend Myra, she's the one that left this piece of advice, and I thought it was really good. She said, your child's success or failures are not a direct reflection of your efforts, right? I really feel that rings true when you're raising teenagers, right? When they start getting some freedom, getting out from up underneath your wings and going to make their own decisions and things like that, you can be really like, wait, I did not teach you that. No, where did you? That's not how we raised you. But I thought this was really, really good advice. I know as mamas, we always feel like we're not doing enough. We always feel like we should be doing more. And we wrestle with that guilt. I know I wrestle with that guilt all the time, just like I should be doing more, whether it's for Mika and Izzy or for all of my other biological kids. There's always that just, idea that we're not doing enough, or is what we're doing, is it enough? Parenting is so hard, so dang hard. But what we have to remember first and foremost is that God chose you to be that child's mama. Like, He handpicked you to be that child's mama, no matter your weaknesses, no matter what you struggle with. He chose you. And so just to understand the magnitude in that, I think is very comforting, because we tend to only look at our weaknesses and we're like, why did He choose me? What do I even have to offer this child, right? So I think we really have to understand that, like, God will equip us throughout the way, and we definitely have to lean on His understanding. We have to lean on Him in our weakness, and even in our strengths we have to lean on Him and ask for guidance and ask for wisdom. We as grown adults, we fail often, right? We make mistakes. Sometimes we don't make the best decision or act in the best way possible. So why are we putting expectations on our kids to always make the best choice or to never fail at anything, right? I feel like failure is a part of life, but what you do with that failure is what matters. And so just knowing and understanding that you can't make every decision for your child. I wish we could, right? You can't force them to reach certain achievements and milestones that you feel like that they should be reaching or should have already met or whatever. Sometimes that stuff is out of your control, and a lot of times that isn't a direct correlation of what kind of parent you are. Our job is to lay the foundation, and that foundation has to be laid from early on. Our job is to walk with wisdom. Our decision making throughout life, our children are watching us. How are they seeing us make decisions? What kind of decisions are we making? What kind of actions? What kind of actions are we portraying or are we showing to our kids in the good seasons and in the really hard seasons? Like, what are they seeing within the four walls of their home? Are they seeing mom and dad walk with wisdom and choose to hold their tongue and to control their temper and control their anger and to not give into flesh and Like, are they seeing those things? And I think especially as you're seeing your kids get older, we have to understand that we can't force them to make the decisions that we wish they would make. We just have to pray that that foundation that we have built for them for the past however many years, that they're going to lean on that, and that is going to become their individual foundation, right? And we have to know that just because our child screws up, or just because maybe our kids haven't reached an achievement or a milestone that we feel like that they need to reach, that isn't necessarily a direct reflection on you as a parent, okay? So I thought that was a really good piece of advice. And number 5 is a really, really good one, which is why I saved it for last. And you absolutely can take this with any season of parenting that you are going through, or really any season of life, okay? I don't know her name. I think her name is Tara. She left this over on Instagram, and I thought it was so good, and I'm just going to read it from my phone. But she said, "Love often feels more like death, but with Christ we have the hope of the resurrection. When we take up our cross and follow Him, it is a call to die to self, to sin, to the flesh. Dying is often full of pain and sorrow, but nothing in this life done for Christ is wasted. It is working an eternal weight in glory. My child's pain, my pain, is not meaningless. He gave His life to redeem all of this pain and raise us to new life." I thought that was such great encouragement, and it truly will bring you back and center you to what's important, and that all of this, the hardships in life, hardships in parenting kids, the struggles that our kiddos go through, these special needs kids, that they go through of no choice of their own, that you're like, God, why does a child have to live like this? Why are they struggling so much? Like, why is pain in the world? Why do orphans suffer? I mean, that's just something that I can't understand why orphans have to live the life that they live, right? And you will start throwing a lot of questions at God, but you can get into dangerous territory if you start doing that. And so you really do have to come back to kind of what Tara said, is that, like, this is all for His glory, and that nothing is in vain, and that He has a purpose for everything. And so just always going back to that, and always just reminding yourself of, like, God, in you, I know that you can work in this situation, and I know that you are working, and I know that there is great purpose for this season of life, for these hardships. And while I may not see them right now with my human eye, I can trust in knowing your purpose is perfect. And just being that willing vessel to allow the Lord to work His purpose out in your life, in your child's life. And it's hard. It's very hard. And I feel like anything that carries the weight of eternity on it is not going to be easy. It is going to be that much harder, right? Adoption is for eternity. So yeah, I just thought that was a great piece of encouragement, and I wanted to end on that. I hope that those 5 pieces of advice, encouragement, were applicable to you and where you are in life. If you have any other thoughts, I would love to hear them in the comment section below, and just kind of hear, like, what kind of advice would you give to another mama, an adoptive mama, special needs mama, or just a mama in general? Because it doesn't matter what kind of child you're parenting. A mama is a mama, and we love our children fiercely, and there really isn't much that we wouldn't do to help them succeed in life and to be the best version of themselves, right? So I feel like we can all relate on that level, whether you've got special needs kids, adopted kids, or you're just average, typical bio kids. That's the last time I'm going to say all of that, okay? But thank y'all so much for joining us. This was fun. This was really good for my soul to sit down and talk about these things. I thought it was really good. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Give it a thumbs up if you like content like this. And we will see you on the next vlog. Bye.